This video is going to give an overview of the new features that are available in the People's Choice Accounting version 10. This focus is going to be primarily on the new enhancements in the invoicing and customer management portion of the premier version of People's Choice Accounting. So one of the new features that has been introduced has been the ability to introduce email invoices and statements. And so once you first upgrade your People's Choice to the current version 10, you would go into program settings and you would go into email settings, and you may need some assistance from your local IT depending on the email setup you have. There's some default settings in here for AOL, Gmail, Hotmail, Office 365, and Yahoo. This is just as a sample is Office 365. And of course you need to enter in your login information and the information that you may need to get from your internet provider or from your IT person that manages your computer systems. But once this is set up, then you can set up in the company information. You can go in and in the company set up whatever you would enter in here for an email address can be the return address of the email. So if it was to be Safe Choice, we might use support at safechoice.com. But you can also have the option for individual login email set up for each user, and so the reply address can be the user that's logged in. Also, in the customer setup, you would go into sales and invoicing, and in the sales and invoicing, we've added a new basic format. Many of you have been using the product format or service format where there's a quantity to quantity shipped. The basic one is for just entering in the quantity and not having to determine if it's shipped or not. And it's just a simpler format that many people have liked. And you can click here to set it up as your default. Also, in the system, we've made it to where the freight on the invoice or other charges on the invoice can be taxable. So if you have these checked, then the default will be taxable, although you can check these on an individual invoice. So if you're using one of our other new features that allows you to assign sales tax based on the ship to on an invoice, so in some locations the freight may be taxable and in another location it may not be. So you would have some flexibility in that regard. So here's where you would do those setups for that. And once those things are set up, then on a particular customer, I'm going to use our first one here. As you can see, we have it set up that for email statements, there's actually two options. You can do just print, where you're only going to print the statement for this one, or you're only going to email it, or you can do both. Some people will email the statement, but they'll have a copy they want printed that they file away. So this one's set to email. And then your default setting for your bill to sales tax can be set up here, but on the ship to, you can have up to 999 different ship to addresses. So for this particular customer, as you could see on the detail, it's assigned to Pennsylvania as a 7%. But on the ship to's to Ohio, and so we have the sales tax assigned to Ohio. So it enables you to calculate the sales tax based on where you're shipping it to, not where you're billing it to. So those are some new enhancements that have been added to the system to get a little bit better feel of some of those things. I'll just pull up one of these invoices, and I believe it was this one here that we created. So it does have the basic format, and as you can see here, the both sold to and shipped to are the same, and so we have the sales tax as Pennsylvania here, and you can see that we have it so that when these are selected, here's the sales tax that's calculated, and this would be based on the 7%. But if you added the freight and you put in, let's say it's $15 in freight, you can see the sales tax is updated. And if you had another charge for handling or whatever you might want to be charging for, and you're charging $25 for that, you could see that the sales tax gets updated to reflect those as being taxable. And as mentioned earlier, in some locations, freight is taxable and whatever other charge may be taxable, and another one they're not, and so you can override this. So if you were going to be shipping this to a different location, you can go here, and it was ABC Marketing was the other ship to that we set up. Then you're given the option, do you want to assign this location as your sales tax? Well, this is in Ohio. The bill to is in Pennsylvania. So when we say, yes, we want to use that, you'll see that the sales tax switches to Ohio and it does a recalculate. So in this case, maybe the other isn't taxable, and so we can adjust it and not charge the tax on that. And as you can see, the default email can be here, but you can type in another email address and a blind copy email address that could be sent. And so to send this, what you would be doing is you would be clicking on print. And now there's an option to say you want to email it or you want to email it and print. So you would click email, and then part of the flexibility in the emailed invoice is what are your defaults. You can have it to always just show the invoice attached as far as the subject of the email, or if you wanted to default to something different, you could say, put it here and put see attached email or see attached invoice for product purchased or whatever, and then you can actually in the body of it, thank you for your order, however you would want to word that. So that can be the default for the email invoices. So those are some new enhancements that have been added to the invoice, both in the format. You still have the option that if you click new, you could select one of the other invoice formats, or as you can just leave your current default if this isn't the format you would like. Now when you go to print it, you can, if you use the code, it doesn't show the code on here, and so if you just wanted that description with the quantity and whatever the charges were, but it's a much simpler layout, and some people like the simpler format. So in terms of the statements, if you were going to email statements, when you go into email, you select, are you going to print an email or just email? And it's going to warn you that it's only going to print or email to customers who are just statement equals email. It won't include any customers that you print an email. So if you print an email for some customers and just email for others, you would have to do it as two separate batches. Otherwise, it's the same layout in terms of a balance forward and what items you're going to use. And so if we just click email, which is how we have Christy set up, it's going to bring up all our customers that are email only customers. And it's also based on what I did in terms of selecting. I just selected some customers. So you could still do all customers, but it was only going to bring up all customers that are assigned as email only in terms of how we are selecting this. So then you would select this, and then you would go ahead and send the email. So that's how you would be emailing statements. And again, there are defaults for the email in terms of the subject that you're going to have for the statements that you're emailing, and maybe the body that you're going to. So this could be customized on a monthly. So if you want to acknowledge a holiday month or something, you can Happy New Year attached as your statement for December, or whatever kind of thing that you could change each month as you go to generate your emailed statements. So those are the basic new features that have been added to the invoicing and customer management as it relates to both statements and invoices.